Hello.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wonderland of Possibilities. My name is Venus Castleberg, and I'm here with a couple of friends of mine, and we're going to talk about something fun today. But I'm going to play this little video first.
Join Venus Castleberg as she teleports you to the Wonderland of Possibilities, where we explore consciousness from the inside out to create a different world, where problems are possibilities and your point of view really does create your reality.
Hello. So this is TV and Matt, my new friends in Estonia. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. And starting next week, I get to come hang out with you. How fun is that?
Yes, I'm so excited, and I'm already waiting for you and all these magical classes to be created.
Absolutely. Can't wait to have you here already.
Me too. Like a few more days.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you guys like to know?
Yeah, I believe we came here for one specific topic, which can just broaden everything. And the topic is...
Entities.
You see what I did there? You see what I did? I waited for the right moment.
The perfect moment. Yes. And more specifically, we're here to talk about how to receive from entities.
Yeah.
Right. So entities are all around. Like, entities, for somebody who might be watching this who's just like, what do you mean by entities? To be more specific, it's beings without bodies. So there's beings without bodies milling about, just like there's people when you walk down the street, there's tons of people milling about, walking around. There's also entities milling about, walking around. Some of them don't realize they don't have bodies, and some of them know they don't have bodies, and they're just doing their thing.
That is quite a real way to say it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I wanted to say something, but as per usual, while dealing with entity awarenesses, it just went away.
Well, let's go ahead and just do like a little exercise for everybody watching now and in the future, and for you guys too right now. Like, lower your walls and barriers, even the ones you don't know about. Expand out 100,000 miles in all directions. And then what are you aware of? Just tap in. What are you aware of? You might be aware of your neighbors. You might be aware of your animals. You might be aware of your roommates. You might be aware, right? But go ahead and expand that awareness. Matt has a fire engine going by, right? So, and then just what are you aware of? And you might just perceive an energy, like something that's a little different than the beings with bodies. You don't necessarily have to see them. You don't even have to feel them. You just have this perception of there's a different energy present. And because we're talking about entities, hello, Christina, welcome. A lot of them just kind of went, whoa. They're like, ooh, we're talking about, you're talking about us, and we're here. So you might feel like this, even like maybe pressure, or this like, wow, things got denser. You might get foggy in the eyes. I know entities when, yes, it gets crowded. Yes, exactly. I know when entities are trying to get my attention and I'm not paying attention, they will blur my camera when I'm like doing a live or something. They'll like go, "Hi, I'm here." And so I'm like, okay. So they can show up any number of ways, right? What if and then the tendency is, okay, so there's a couple of different things that you can do with entities. You can clear them, you can communicate with them, you can receive contribution, or give contribution. I know for me, when I first learned about entities, this is long before even Access Consciousness. Access Consciousness has some great tools about like how to deal with entities and clear them and all that stuff. But long before Access Consciousness, I became a clairvoyant medium, and I just instinctively knew that there were like beings that didn't know that they didn't have bodies anymore. And so, and my team, spiritual team, helped me with that a little bit. So I just got into the habit of clearing them, like of just like letting them. And at first I thought that that's what all entities were here. Like all the entities that I was aware of all needed to be cleared. So I was just clearing all the time. And then with Access Consciousness and the Talk to the Entities tools, I learned that sometimes they're here to communicate with you and sometimes they're here to contribute or receive contribution. And that last one was the tricky one for me, right? It was like, oh, I could clear them, no problem. And then I was like, and then communicate with them. Oh, sure, I can communicate with them, no problem. But receiving contribution from them, I was like, what? Like, what would they want to give me? It was kind of like, why would they want to give me something, or what would they want to contribute to me? Like, it just didn't quite register. It was just different, you know, and I was like, okay. So then I played with it for a little while and I was like, okay, so let's say there's some entities here that would like to contribute. So now I'd like all of you to ask all the beings that are not here to contribute to you specifically right now to just back up. And I know sometimes we get a little nervous around entities. There's nothing in the world that's more powerful than you. Nothing. So the entities aren't more powerful than you. As a matter of fact, a lot of them wish they still had bodies and they don't have bodies anymore, right? So if they think that you have something they don't, then they are not more powerful than you. Okay. And then just allow the ones around you that desire to contribute to you.
It's amazing how different the energy gets each time you really like tell us to like move these energies or ask something to do or be something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. And you get to perceive that if you're tapping into the beings without bodies that desire to contribute to you, then yeah, it's a different energy. You also probably aren't dealing with necessarily ghosts at that point. You might be, but ghosts are usually beings without bodies that don't realize they don't have bodies anymore that want to be cleared.
Yeah, it's
the beings
it's really,
that
sorry. It's really interesting that mostly when people start to ask about entities or they hear about entity topic, the first thing is to think about something evil, bad, or ghosts or something like that. Nobody really like talks about like everything is entities. Like, oh, your table is an entity, your chair is an entity, you are an entity. Everything is energy,
Yep. Yeah, everything is energy. Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up because a lot of people are like, they think of the ghosts, the beings without bodies, and they forget that, hey, did you know you have a spiritual team? Like you literally have a team of spirits that are with you to support you through your life. And they're here they won't interfere with your life, but they're here to support you if you have something to add, if you're asking something, they will go to work to bring that to you. Then there's also beings of light. There's elementals and nature spirits like fairies and stuff. So, and I love that I'm going to be in Estonia next week. It's actually called the Land of the Fairies. And
Yes.
Matt, would you say something about that? Because you told me something about that I love.
Yeah,
About
I love how Estonia is kind of a country that even when people say we are atheistic or atheists, it's like whenever you go to somebody's house, everybody has kind of like these, dream catchers. People still put the candles on the window when they want to, invite the dead people come to eat or something like that. Or there are so many animistic traditions still kept, from the ancient Estonian times. And because Estonians had, they say that Estonians are really, how to say, weak-headed. They're like hard-headed. So when Christians came here with their Christian wars, Estonians were like, "Nah, we're gonna wash it off, and then we're gonna still go into the forest and talk to our fairies and snakes." So yeah, a lot of those things have still stayed. Like people still go to some kind of stones and talk to the stones or the trees or ask some kind of um, guidance or something like that. And some people when they do classes for food, they take the food and they give it to the house fairy or something like that. Yeah, there are a lot of things like people doing, and you're like, "Oh man, you believe in that stuff too?" No, I'm an atheist. What are you talking about? It's so like it's like so natural here.
Yeah, I mean, people don't even realize, right? They're interacting with entities all the time, but they think that it's just, it's just the way we were raised, and it's just what we do here, right? And there's already an acknowledgement that hey, there are fairies and stuff like that, which I think is super cool. So that in itself is a way to receive from entities, right? Because why would you light a candle or feed a fairy? Like, what's the purpose of feeding the fairy? Right? Are you feeding the fairy? Maybe tell me something that, like, why do they feed fairies, or why do they light a candle?
In my awareness, well, and what I've heard is like when your house is having guests, it's just to like it's an appreciation. It's I'm coming into your house. This is your house. You're the fairy of this house. I'm gonna contribute to you. Thank you for letting us in. Thank you for hosting us.
Oh, that's awesome, right? So this like simultaneity of gifting and receiving. It's very cool, right? So back to the exercise, because I know everybody's like, wait, weren't we doing something? I can squirrel pretty good. So all the beings that would like to contribute to you, and they could be any beings, right? There's no like specific, like you only can receive from fairies or you can only receive from light beings. That's not actually true. But there are a bunch of beings that are here right now for you specifically to contribute to you. And I can feel some people, their walls and barriers went up. Let's let the walls and barriers back down. Right? Contribution doesn't mean that they're going to hurt you. They're not. That's not contribution. So cool. So now, and just receive without a point of view, without like, it can show up any number of ways. It might feel like energy. You might get warm. You might get tingling. You might not have any of that, right? It doesn't mean you're not receiving if you can't perceive any of that. I'm just saying some examples of like, oh, wow, suddenly I have a flash of energy going through my body, or I can perceive this softness or this ease, overwhelm. Like, can some of you now perceive like a greater ease in your body and a greater relaxation? Some of you might hear noises that sound like little fairies or little gnomes dancing, or sirens I do know a lot of times, like when we're talking about entities, that's like when suddenly you'll have an alarm go off or a bell go off. You guys in Estonia, have you seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life?
Yes, I have.
You know,
Mhm.
It's a Wonderful Life, right? Do you remember in the movie that every time a bell rings, the angel gets its wings?
Yeah.
Right.
It's,
So
it's
I
amazing.
still to this day, every time a bell rings, I think, oh, an angel's getting its wings. Like it's just like it just tickles me to think that like that is a possibility out there, right? That it's not necessarily made up. And so everywhere where any of you think that you've made stuff up and that you're not as aware as you think you are, can we destroy and uncreate all that?
Yes.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, puck, put, online, choice, boys, put, ads, and beyonds. And if you're new to my videos and to Access Consciousness, that was the clearing statement. You can find out more information at theclearingstatement.com. Cool. So what are you? I'm going to put TV and Matt on the spot. What are you guys perceiving as you're receiving from?
For a few minutes, I was already thinking like, I wish you would ask me that, or us would ask that. Thank you for getting it from my head. Yeah, most of the times with this receiving, for me, for a while I didn't receive because I thought I had to like mentally masturbate it. And I have to like get it through some kind of systems or something like that. So receiving was kind of went through other, perceiving elements, and now it has changed. It also has those perceiving elements like temperatures, hot and cold, feelings, changes of perception, everything that. And yet it also has this kind of like a mental images, not like visual images, but this, you know, that energy. When you don't have a visual, but you don't have a visual,
Knowing.
but you see.
Mhm.
You don't have a visual, but you smell. You don't have a visual, but you feel. All these things. So yeah, this is kind of how I perceive everything.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. What about you, TV?
For me, it's like a lot of bodily sensations. Like at first, when we started, it was really tense, like crowded, like Matt said. And then when we did the exercise, now it's just sort of a little bit tension in my body, like little vibrations, but a lot of ease and peace.
Oh,
And
awesome.
I actually thought that I don't have much awareness of entities, but I had this one time that I just knew. Basically, my dad passed away a few years ago, and I was doing this breathwork thing, and there was only me and this facilitator in the room, so two people, nobody else. And I was like going through my process of grieving and everything, and I had my eyes closed, I was breathing, and then I felt like somebody patted my head like this, and it was as physical as like right now I'm touching my head. So, and I instantly sort of just knew that it's my dad. I just knew. There was no zero doubt in my world. And the second I felt it, before I was like sad and all that kind of stuff, and then when I perceived it, it was like instantly all this calmness washed over me, serenity totally. So I was like, wow, thank you. It was like he was just saying to me, I'm here, I got you, all good. So this was like one and only time that I know of that I have had this instant knowing of an entity.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, I think actually I became a clairvoyant medium so that I could have, like, I believe I was gifted that gift because I needed to have peace with death and dying. And because before that, I didn't really know what happened after, So, but then with that gift, I was like, now I just have a lot of ease around the death of the physical body because I know that doesn't mean the end. the spirit, goes on. And I've actually lost 2 dads. And so I get what that's like TV, but that's really cool that you had that experience. And that's another way that we can receive from entities, is just that ease in knowing that death of the body is not the end. And I know we still miss them, we still wish we could hug them in a way, but they hug us all the time. So yeah.
I wanted to add something with these perceptions of these energies or entities and entities is a lot of people, these mental systems that we have, we start to define what we are feeling or perceiving, and mostly we define, is it either good or bad? And so a lot of times a lot of people don't want to perceive these kind of energies because it's like, oh, vibrations, so bad. Cold, I don't want to feel cold. Cold is bad. Why am I feeling cold in a warm room? This is bad. And everything is like leathered or boxed up into this good and bad systems kind of. And that, my friends, is not receiving.
Well, yeah, it limits receiving because it's judgment. Anytime you judge something as good or bad, it is a judgment. It kills the possibility. A judgment kills what's possible. So if you can be like, oh, okay, there's no right or wrong, good or bad here. There's just this energy. And that, that being said, are there dark entities? Of course. But what did I say a few minutes ago? There is nothing more powerful than you. Nothing. So they're dark energies. Yeah.
Yeah, and also these dark energies. It's like, don't you have dark days? Don't you have these kind of days you really want to, just. Well, I believe it's like with all the energies, it's this kind of like, it's not wrong. It's just different.
Yeah. Yeah. I can tell you guys a funny story. So early on when I became clairvoyant medium, I didn't want the gift, just to be clear. I was like, I don't want this gift. I don't know why I was given this gift. So I resisted it rather dynamically. But I knew I had a spiritual team that had my back. So I was in dialogue with them. So I was like, okay, I've got this spiritual team. I'm working with them. And then I had these friends that were doing this healing session with it was a grid and crystals and all this stuff. And there was a woman on the table, and these 2 friends were working on them. And I had asked, can I watch a session? Because I was just curious, because I was starting to see a lot with my spiritual sight. So I was, curious to what would I see and what would I experience by watching their session. And I was sitting there watching their session, and I was like, I could tell my sight was focused on them. And my team, my spiritual team, came in and said, open your sight. And I was like, no. You can't make me. I really appreciate their patience with me, because they were like, Venus, don't you trust us? We got your back. Open your sight. And I was like, okay. And I opened it like this big. And they're like, open it up to the whole room. And I'm like, no. I was like a little child. You can't make me. No, I'm not going to do it. They're like, Venus. They're like, Venus, come on, trust us. I was like, okay, fine. So I opened it up in the whole room, and back in the back corner was this dark energy. And I was like, see, I didn't need to see that. I was like, I knew that was there, but I didn't want to see it, and you made me see it, and blah 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 blah. Oh, I'm so grateful for them. Their patience. They must have laughed at me a lot. Anyway, and then they're like, you're okay. And then they're like, invite it towards you. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? No way. I'm not inviting it to me. And they're like, just trust us. And I was like, man, you guys really pushing my envelope right now. So, so I was like, okay, fine, I'll invite it towards me. And once it reached, like, I would say my energy field, I think some people call it an aura, whatever, it's not significant, but like this, we all have a presence, right? Once it reached that, it literally turned into bubbles of light and like, evaporated into the ceiling. And I was like, oh, so, and that was before I even knew that I could clear entities, and that was a capacity that I have. But it was just like this light bulb moment, like, oh, it can't hurt me, because that's what I was afraid of. I was actually afraid of it, like it could hurt me or do something to me, and it couldn't.
Yeah. It's
And
yeah, sorry. Keep on going.
no, that was the story. So, but yeah, it's just this, like, nothing can hurt you.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like when people talk about like dark energy, so it's like when you meet new people and you have this kind of first step judgments, like this kind of like soft judgments, which then maybe turn into like hard judgments. And these kind of energies, they're like the same thing. It's like you have judged it, so they are now kind of in this box of darkness, or in this box. I don't want to see that because I've already judged it to be wrong, bad, dirty, whatever the judgment is.
Yeah.
But there might be something magical. Not might be, I would say it is. It wouldn't be like hidden, I don't know why this topic is, or this talk is coming up right now. But yeah, how much are we like avoiding, and that if we don't avoid it, we would open ourselves up to more receiving, and open us up to more magic possibilities and the potency or phenomenons that we truly be.
Yeah. Yeah, and they get like that. Thank you for saying that, because it's like, it really is like, how do we receive from entities? It's like getting the gift that is, right? Like, what a gift that was for me to not. Then I was no longer afraid of dark entities, because I knew that nothing could harm me. But I had to go through that experience to be like, oh, this is a gift, right?
For me, there hasn't been any time that I've dealt with this kind of like dark things that something bad has happened. Each and every time I get greater, I start to know things more. I'll be more aware. I'll have more ease after that. Everything always turns out more for me.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And if we could look at every single interaction like that as a gift. Yeah. Vicky says, the entities brought me to the live. So cool. Thank you. That's awesome, Vicky. Welcome. So fun. Yeah, I mean, like, they will. Yeah, if you're willing to listen, they will give you whispers. They will say, go here, or say hi to that person, or and you never know what a difference a smile or a hi could be to somebody, if you feel prompted to do so. It could, again, there's gifts and so much that you can receive from entities in so many different ways. And
there's a really sorry.
Go ahead.
The entities are like plug in, like, ooh, you gotta say that, do that. And I'm like, hold on, what's your horses, son? Like, yeah, but there is a really an unimaginable level of kindness to working and being, communing and creating with entities. People tend to like just miss or put it into this, no, I don't want to do it, I don't want to be it. It's a nurturing and healing kindness. It's like, when you have a friend, he doesn't need you to talk to him, he doesn't need you to help him. All he needs is your presence. you being you. You know, and to me, like entity stuff has always been something like that. Just be present, be you, and receive.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah. So, what are the infinite ways that we can receive? And have some fun with it. Just play with it. Just be like, okay, what can I receive from entities? How can I receive from entities? And they'll show you. They'll show you different ways. You might, I think we've all experienced this, but like this is one of the ways. Like they play with me sometimes. Is like, have you ever written like a check or paid for something and then it never went through your bank account?
Yep.
Yeah. That's entities going, here's some money, here's some, like they can play with all sorts of ways to contribute to you. So
I love how my body or I start to do weird noises or I start to dance or do something. It's a lot of time when this kind of awarenesses come up, I would be like doing some weird stuff. And I'm like, interesting, cool. How much more weird can it be?
Right. Yeah. And whatever you do, don't have any fun because that would be, really bad.
You don't tell me what to do.
So thank you everyone for listening and joining. Thank you, Matt and TV. This has been great. This is a lot of fun. I love talking about entities.
And thank you for coming. Like, thank you for this opportunity to host you and to receive you and everything you are. Oh, it has already been a tremendous gift. And what else can we now like open up and receive and be with all of this, all of you, all of me, all of TV, Estonia, Europe, world, consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the infinite possibilities?
Yeah.
And how much fun can we have?
Yes. No, you can't have any fun, TV. This is
no, I can't. No, not allowed. Not me.
Oh.
Well, and if any of you are watching this now or in the future, we do have some classes live and online next week. We have X-Men, which always ends up being an entity class partially, as well as tapping into your own superpowers. And we have a Talk to the Entities intro. And if you're in Estonia, we'll have a Talk to the Entities beginning class. And so, play.
I would add, who has already been to Bars class and who has already been into Access Foundation class, you're also invited to Intro to Symphony class, which is on Friday the 28th in the morning in Estonia, in Tallinn.
Yes, how much more fun. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you.